logistical items. If you haven't already noticed, your lines have been muted, but we will be taking questions throughout the webinar, and if you can type them through the chat section, that would be great. It's in the control panel down to the bottom right of your corner. And if you come across any issues throughout the webinar, please send a direct message to myself, TRCA host, within the chat section. So let's begin. On behalf of Partners in Project Green and the University of Western Ontario, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar. Partners in Project Green is a growing community of businesses working together to green their bottom line by creating an internationally recognized eco-business zone around Toronto Pearson that is known for its competitive, high-performance, and eco-friendly business climate. Through these regular webinars, we hope to bring the latest technologies, programs, and tools to the comfort of your office while providing a format to ask questions that will help you discover the right solutions for your operations. Partners in Project Green offers many resources to help companies along their journey to sustainability, and I encourage you to visit our website to learn more about our programs, training events, and much more at www.partnersinprojectgreen.com. So this afternoon, we're exploring the available funding incentives that are available to organizations to hire co-op students. Organizations are often strapped for staff resources, and often enough, sustainability projects are an additional task added to an employee's job duties. Hiring graduate students offers organizations an efficient and inexpensive way to accelerate their sustainability agenda. So we're very fortunate to have quite a few speakers joining us this afternoon from Knowlton Development Corporation, University of Western Ontario, MyTax, and the Career Foundation, all calling from various cities within Ontario this afternoon. First up, we have our case study. Let me just switch over to demonstrate how KBC actually best made use of funding and how they got the most out of the co-op student. They've actually participated in a program for 3 years now. Sonia Dukuna is joining us from Knowlton Development Corporation, and she's the Director of Sustainability at KBC and oversees their integrated sustainability program. Stemming from her background in environmental science, herbalism, and natural product development, she specializes in regulatory affairs for natural, organic, and ethical standards in health and beauty and consults directly on projects seeking to adhere to third-party ethical standards, keeping at the forefront of evolving climate and global natural, organic, and sustainability standards. Also joining us for the business case study portion is Catherine Batista, and she's a graduate of a Master's in Environment and Sustainability program at the University of Western Ontario, who worked for KDC as part of her co-op placement in 2013. Just so you can get an idea, Catherine helped with the development of an effective waste management plan and also helped prepare a report for a client that KDC had that documented key environmental performance indicators that identified areas that have potential for further environmental improvement. So I'm actually going to invite Sonia to actually speak right now and speak to her experience. There you go, Sonia.
Okay, great. Thanks, Alex. Hello, everybody. I guess, Alex, you'll be switching the slides. I can just get right into it, and if we want to go to the first slide. There. So just as a brief introduction, KDC, many of you might not have heard of it. We're kind of a middleman. We're a contract manufacturer in the health and beauty industry, contract manufacturing for multinationals in the cosmetics realm. So Johnson & Johnson, L'Oreal, Unilever, Procter & Gamble. And when we were creating the sustainability vision, this is what we came up with, and it's really about aligning our own principles of sustainability as we understand them into the corporate strategic direction. And the next slide. The next slide talks about really what the program in support of that vision is, and this is something that is actually quite tangible and not based in philosophy, but is based in action. So it's a framework of actions, progress tracking, analysis, reporting, designed to align the environmental and social initiatives of the KDC sites, because we have multiple facilities, to drive our corporate business in the end. So this is something that, as Alex mentioned, many organizations are not resourced with individuals who have the full-time capability to drive that agenda, and this is why we ultimately brought in interns to do a lot of that groundwork. So when we were considering hiring a student, I mean, from our experience of having the students, now I can answer this, with these points for sure, but the points kind of surpass what you see here as well. But as far as the major highlights on why would you bring in a student intern, First of all, especially when you're hiring from a program pool like a master's program that's focused and their directive is on sustainability, you end up with an individual, regardless of personality, you end up with an individual who is very highly trained in the specialized knowledge around sustainability and at that more mature level as well. Through that exposure in their program, they're well-versed in all of the latest technologies. They're at the forefront of any new paradigms and methodologies, and they're usually well tapped into resources as well that are tangible and accessible. You don't need to bring in somebody who you have to then educate around what the context of sustainability is, but you can assume that you're already talking the same language and that they are coming at it from that contextual perspective of the triple bottom line when they're tackling different projects on site. I find that every individual that we had, and up to now we've had, including Catherine, we've had 4 different student interns over the past 3 years, and they all are incredibly open, highly creative in their thinking, and very, very idealistic. And you can take a lot of that fresh energy that comes into your company, and once you're past kind of the learning curve of this is our company and this is how you fit in and this is what we hope to do, a lot of that kind of drive is actually a key piece to them getting the work done well and smartly. Because of that attitude, they're very, very much invested, wholeheartedly invested in learning while they're experiencing things on the job and actually getting the most out of their time at the job. None of our students have ever been opportunistic in a self-serving manner. It's always been a very mutually beneficial experience, I've found. The fact that each of these students are coming out of an academic program and through that program as a co-op, they are highly supported by the program itself in helping them to kind of transition into their position. If there are any issues that come up, I'm sure they get full support that way, and it's very collaborative between myself, who's directing their work here, and then the program director as far as how to make it an opportunity for both sides. And then they are in constant touch with their teachers and their peers, and I've seen that interaction come into play with helping to move a lot of our projects forward as well. So it wasn't based on just the insight of the student, but that kind of network that they had around them as well. As Alex mentioned as well, just to reinforce this, we really needed to hire a student. It wasn't about kind of just trying to open up this experience for the student. The fact is, if I wanted to get the work done as Director of Sustainability, I really cannot delegate to anybody ultimately outside of their scope that easily. So having somebody who is available to focus on the sometimes even the dead ends around some of the projects on a full-time basis is really important. And the students, actually Catherine, who's on the line, she was key in actually ensuring that we had that we engaged the MyTax program last year, and that was even higher incentive for us to bring her in because we ended up fulfilling the requirements for the program, and we got subsidized funding for her position here as well. So the next slide. So here's partly some of the highlights of my approach to working with an intern and trying to maximize that experience for both sides and to maximize ultimately the results as well for both parties. And I find that this is really an approach that seems to make sure that we get what we need and that the student also has a valuable experience that is progressive in their own career path. First of all, because they're here for just a finite period of time, it's really important to have a very contained, well kind of defined and realistic work plan for them, and something that you know you're going to have different checkpoints over time. Sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's based on the project timeline itself, and where you adjust it, and you make sure that at every point in the work term that the student is working in a meaningful way based on what the achievable goals are. So setting those realistic goals is key up front, but then also understanding that you may have to adjust them over the course of the term is also really important. And when you're working on defining that plan, just for me it's important to check in with the student as well and make sure that this is something that is meaningful to them, that they see the vision behind what the projects may be, that they can buy into the philosophy or the priority of what they're going to be working on. So it's making sure that our objectives there's a common understanding there and that they're mutually invested for their own, from their own perspective. In order to kind of enhance that as well, I think it's really, really important to respect the fact that the student coming in is not there to just, get coffee or do kind of the grunt work, but they're there for a full experience that is actually supposed to be highly inspiring for them as well and engaging for them. And so in order to enable that, it's about making sure that you lube the different relationships that they're going to need to make their job progressive with the different individuals in your own organization that they're going to have to interact with, and making sure that those individuals understand the role of the student and treat that with respect. Also to go through any industry people and suppliers to make sure that they have a title and the sanctioning of the company to say that they can interact independently with those people and have that kind of authority, and that they can make decisions based on that position in the company, that they're not here just to follow orders, but that they can actually also make decisions so that ultimately things progress in the short time that they're in their session or in their work term. And then the third element I find is to really be open to the insights and the individuality of the intern and the things that they bring and the things that they kind of learn as they go, and just to keep being open to that and allowing that to shape what the outcome is of the directive. So it's not just about dictating things and not having preconceived notions of what the outcome is going to be, but being open to collaborating and then shaping things based on the way that they explore and direct things. As a mentor, I don't see this as a position of being a boss of somebody, but of being a mentor, because the student coming in is still on their learning path, and so it's about being very open with them and very constructive in guiding their activity and other nuances of the job. And most importantly, and this is for the student's sake and your own, it's about not micromanaging their activity, but to set those overarching goals in the overarching timeline with measurable and well-defined deliverable points, and then just letting them go with it, trusting that, and reworking it as it evolves. So, the next slide. So finally, really the benefits are, you can probably assume a lot of them from what I've already said, but really the bottom line for us, and this is proven now year over year, that things actually get done where they don't. When the students, when we have those couple months gap where there are no interns in-house, really things do not get done. We have the baton suspended in air waiting for the next student to come in, grab it, and run with it. And I've seen that work time over time. And so I can say that we always have our vision. It's always here, and it's always kind of in play. It's always mandated by corporate. But then the student comes in, they do the exploration, they do the legwork, they do the run against the dead ends, reconfigure, and figure out the next thing, create the action plan. They integrate on the site level, which is where we need to see it. We learn through the impacts of that, and then all of a sudden we have a new foundation for our existing vision, and we build on that and build on that. And that has happened in very tangible ways with our scorecard, with our recycle programs, and so on, and other initiatives. So the last 2 points really speak for themselves, but I can't kind of reinforce them enough. So interns have the time and ability to conduct efficient research and to determine the most viable solution in support of specific sustainability initiatives and ultimately organize it into real action, which is what we all want to see. We want to get past the philosophy into the action. Action items realized by the student interns build and evolve the sustainability program in tangible and measurable ways that make the culture of sustainability visible in an organization.
Great, thank you so much, Sonia. I'm actually going to invite Catherine Batista to join us. I unmuted you right now.
Okay.
If you could just, I'm just going to unmute you again, and if you can just turn off your voice, that would be great, just so we can actually hear you. Okay, so let's just try this again. There we go. Perfect.
I'm muted.
There we go.
Hi, can you hear me?
So perhaps we just have a little bit of technical difficulty there. So I'm just going to actually move over. Sonia, are there any other closing comments that you want to share about that? Then maybe we can bring Catherine on a little bit later on.
No, I think those are the main points really. But we're hiring another student this term coming up, and I know that they're going to further evolve what we've got going on. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was really great. I think the three important points to consider when you're bringing on a student is really valuable to everyone here. So up next, we're actually going to get into the nitty-gritty stuff of the actual funding incentives that are available. First, we actually have Allison McInnes, who is the Co-op and Career Services Advisor for the Center for Environment and Sustainability at Western University. Allison has been working in career development at Western for 5 years and has also worked in the community employment service programs with the YMCA and John Howard Society. So I'm just going to unmute you, Allison. There you go. The floor is yours.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone who's participating in this workshop today. And, I prepared this slide, but I think Sonia covered most of it, and probably did a way better job than I ever could have. I'll just give you a tiny few bullet points about what our program is about, some unique features about it, and number one, that it's a competitive entry graduate program, so students who come to us are selected on the basis of both their academic performance, but also demonstrated leadership and commitment to environment sustainability prior to coming to our program. Additionally, it's an interdisciplinary program, so what that entails is that folks who come to us come from a variety of different backgrounds. That could be engineering, it could be social sciences, or it could be a pure science. And as part of their degree requirements, they must complete this full-time summer co-op from May to August. We have students who have worked on a variety of different projects in the past. Sonia mentioned what Catherine had worked on for her, and we've had students work on, you name it, so things like greenhouse gas emission inventorying to ISO compliance, even just sustainability, envisioning and planning, community outreach and environmental education, all sorts of things. So like I said, Sonia did a great job in covering the benefits of our students, and so I don't think I'll touch on that very much. Maybe just a few things here. I just want to point out that our students are willing to travel and relocate. In most cases, typically, they haven't settled down anywhere. They don't have mortgages or things like that. So if you do have work that is going to require them to relocate or travel, then that is completely fine. Additionally, I think Sonia touched a little bit on this, that students are very helpful to cover short-term projects or peak work periods. And I think that is definitely true. A lot of times, sustainability initiatives that you may have are great ideas, but you don't have enough time to manage those projects. And so that's where our students can come in and be a real valuable resource for you. I've also heard that a growing concern in some organizations is really about succession planning, and using a co-op student is actually a very easy way to try out a new employee to see if they do fit into your organization's culture. And one unique aspect of if this is of interest to your organization, but to connect with the university population and really solidify your brand among the university target market. And finally, most importantly, I think what many people are probably here today is to find out that the different incentives that are available to take on a student and expand your human resources. a lot of times I think, I speak with folks who are interested in our program and really see the benefit of having our students, but really they just aren't able to free up the resources to be able to take on a student. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about the funding incentives. So essentially we're going to touch on 3 today. So the first one being the Cooperative Education Tax Credit, which is Ontario only, but I think everybody on the phone is probably from Ontario, so that's good. And then we'll be talking about MyTax Accelerate program, which was used in description there by Sonia through KDC. And then finally, I also wanted to provide you folks with information with regards to some other funding that is available to hire new graduates. So if you are looking for a student who has completed their program and looking to secure full-time employment, there is funding available for that as well. So the Cooperative Education Tax Credit, this is something I have obviously not created and don't facilitate, but my role is to provide you with almost what I'd like to say like a receipt or an issue of a receipt of participation into our program. So this tax credit is available to employers who hire co-op students in a registered co-op or internship program. So point to take home is that we cannot give you the tax credit receipt there for summer hires. It has to be a student enrolled in a registered co-op program. And the amount is up to $3,000 based on the costs incurred to hire and train the students. And like I touched on briefly, how it works is at the end of the co-op work term, the university or college that you're working with will issue a receipt of participation, and then this would be used by your finance department to reclaim that tax credit. So there's the website address there on the bottom, and I'm sure Alex will probably provide these resources to the folks who are interested at a later date.
Yes. That's great. I will be sending out a recorded version of the webinar in presentation slides just for everyone to access that. So up next, we're actually going to go over to tax credits, as Allison had mentioned. And we have Christine McDonald joining us from MyTax this afternoon. And Christine is the Director of Business Development, where she works directly with academic institutions and industries to set up collaborative research projects to solve problems. Christine is a professional engineer who has spent several years working in industry and also as a consultant for scientific research and experimental development, tax claims for companies. So Christine, I'm just going to unmute you and you can take the floor too. There we go.
That's great. Thank you very much for having me here today. So I think also we can dive right in. So welcome everybody. We can go to the next slide. And my name is Christine McDonald and I am with MyTax. So those of you who are unfamiliar with MyTax has been around for 15 years. We receive federal and provincial funding and we are across Canada. We have research partners all over Canada as well, 37 research partners. We're at 61 universities, and over the past 15 years, we've had almost 10,000 research projects, which is pretty amazing, a real collaborative effort between industry and academia. I'll go to the next slide. I'm not going to go on over all of these points, but just to give you a quick snapshot of what we do. We work with industry partners. We've had over 900 of them in the past year, 50-plus university partners. So when you're thinking of an internship, certainly keep MyTax in the loop because we might be able to help you out. We also have over 2,000 research projects. If you were to take a look at our website, you can actually look at previous research projects and sort by province, by industry, by field, by partner. I mean, there are a whole bunch of different options, and you can take a look at projects we've worked on in the past. We've had over 260 professional skills workshops, and that certainly is something that is available to full-time students who are registered at a Canadian university. They can be a master's, PhD, or a postdoctoral fellow is also eligible. And those are professional skills training available on your campus. Okay. I think we can go to the next slide. MyTax has been around for 15 years, and we are in every single faculty, every single department in university. So when you think of an internship, certainly your department is one of the ones that we work with. We are in history, we are in economics, we are in environmental studies, we are in engineering, we are everywhere. So we work with academics to have collaborative research projects with small, medium, large businesses. We've been able to work with some government organizations and also some not-for-profits and hospitals. And I'll get into what a partner is in a minute or so. Oh, I can see there it is. It's come up. Okay. So when we think of our research talent supply chain, really that's what MyTax is all about. It's trying to, it's trying to bring the brightest and the best research talent in connection with industries. So we're trying to attract the right people, and certainly within MyTax and within the research community, we're providing people with industry-ready skills. We're providing training to have our next set of research leaders. We're also looking at retaining people into this market because we're trying to build these collaborative efforts between industry and academia, and also trying to make sure that the Canadian industry and economy is growing and thriving. One of our mandates at MyTax is to drive innovation across Canada, and the main way we do this is through internships. And also, as the last point, we really want our researchers to drive these innovation outcomes. So they're deployed right at the partner site so that you have an opportunity to build connections, build networks, and really, anecdotally, about 20% of our interns actually get a job offer in the end. So, I mean, there's a real bridge there that we're trying to make and to grow stronger. Okay, next slide. So if you look at our program growth over the last few years, you can see we've had some accelerated growth, which is fantastic. MyTax is at 130 people across Canada right now, and it started with a much smaller group. You can see in our first year we had 18 projects, and this year we're on target actually to hit 3,000. So this is a program that is well recognized across Canada. People are using it, and people are benefiting from it. MyTax has been in the last 3 federal budgets as an actual line item, which indicates a real support of our program across Canada. Okay. Oh, there we go. So if you're a business and you're looking to work with MyTax, well, certainly there are many advantages to having an intern. And as was touched upon earlier, sometimes you're able to access people who are experts in the field that you might not have in-house. Depending on the project that you're working on, it might also be eligible for SHRED tax credits. And what people are also able to do is build in internships into their industry models. If you have a project that you're thinking of working on over even a couple of years, we've had industries set up several of these so that they're able to leverage their R&D dollars that they've allocated and able to have those dollars go further. As a business, you'll also gain a competitive advantage, and that's because we are bringing you the brightest and the best, working on projects and solving problems. And also, MyTax is across Canada. We have people like myself at universities all over the country. So we work directly with academia and with industry and with the interns to make sure that we put forward the best research proposal possible. And as such, we have a very high success rate when we all work together. Approximately 95% of our internship research proposals are approved, which is a great success story. Also, as a business, you're able to develop IP. MyTax does not take any stake in IP. However, we really encourage our academics and industry partners to work together to figure out the IP solution that's best for them. And also another advantage for a business is that the researchers are not a company employee. So you have a chance to meet somebody, work with them ahead of time. We've even had areas where an HR representative has come in to interview each intern ahead of time. And this was because they wanted to hire this person at the end. So it is a really great opportunity and for recruitment of talent. Okay. And as I said before, if you are working on a research proposal, reach out to us at MyTax. We are happy to go over the draft with you. We will provide very explicit feedback on areas that might need a little more attention, and we will work with you again to provide the best possible application possible. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So we have just a few examples here of some great projects and some outcomes that we've had. And we're looking at this, of course, from the industry perspective, where some of our research internships have helped to provide some cost savings, right? A pulp mill saving $40,000 a year, which is a great ROI. Certainly robotics companies looking at drone aircraft camera prototypes, or a biotech firm. We work quite a bit in biotech, and you'll see us having a lot of different areas, and certainly food testing kits was a real win for us. But we are in every single area, so certainly think of greenhouse lighting for higher crop yields, right? There are other ways to look at research. A lot of people think of research as lab coat, but that's not true. We're looking at research in your area of expertise. Okay, and I think we can go to the next slide as well. There we go. So how do we do this? Our real goal is to build research collaborations between industry partners and academia, okay? You can have a small project, like an internship that we've been talking about, that are generally 4 months in length, or you can have a large multidisciplinary project. So our projects range from $15,000 research award all the way up to $2 million plus. And those are the big projects I was talking about earlier, about leveraging R&D dollars. Okay? And again, develop IT, bring in the top research talent. And the way that we do this is through a matched funding model that I'll go over in a minute. Same with the scalable projects. You can have the small project, the 4 months, or you can have one that builds up really quickly. And another key highlight is that my tax proposals have a rolling application deadline, which means that as soon as you have a project, you can submit the application. And on average, it takes about 6 weeks. Once we have a draft that everyone's agreed upon, it takes about 6 weeks to go through our system, because we do a very focused peer review that's taking a look at the research project and at the person who's going to be doing the work. Okay. So I'll just briefly touch on our funding cycle. So if we use our 1 4-month building block as a standard internship unit, what it requires is an industry partner who contributes $7,500. For an approved project, my tax will match that so that we end up with a total of $15,000. From the $15,000, a minimum of $10,000 goes to our intern who's working on the actual proposal. The other $5,000 can also go to the intern, or it can be used for project-related expenses. And that is something that we just follow NSERC's guidelines on, and details on that is on our website. But certainly it can cover a variety of things, such as travel to a conference, or perhaps hiring an additional research assistant. And then it links back to industry. Our research interns spend a minimum of 50% of their time on-site at the industry partner. I'm just going to briefly touch on who can be an industry partner. So I'll go over this rather briefly here. Oh, okay, we're on to the next slide. I'll go over that in a second. Okay, okay. So an industry partner, certainly if it is a for-profit company who's a Canadian company, or an international company with a Canadian presence, where an intern can spend up to at least 50% of their time on-site, then that is fine at any time. Now, if you are working with a not-for-profit or an NGO or a hospital, reach out to the local business development director at your university. We just need to double check that their funding model is something that we can work with, because we do receive federal and provincial funding. In the last federal budget, my tax received notification that the Accelerate Internship Program, which is what we're talking about here, will be extended to eligible not-for-profits. So this means that once we find out exactly what eligible means, we'll be able to have a lot more internships going on. So if you are in that area where you're thinking that your partner may be a not-for-profit, an NGO, a government, some sort of other government organization, or a hospital, again, please reach out to your business development director to find out the status on whether we can move in that area or not. Okay. So I'll go to the next slide now. So as I mentioned before, we do have scalable projects. So for those of you who are maybe thinking of a bigger project where you're going to have multiple interns coming in, then you might want to look at our cluster model. So how it works is after you have, so the first 1 to 5 internship units, it's the 1-to-1 match that I mentioned in the previous slide with $7,500 from an intern from an industry partner and $7,500 from MyTax. Once you get into a bigger project where you have at least 6 internships or 6 of these intern blocks, then the funding model becomes a bit more interesting, and certainly we do have a lot of people use this as part of their R&D leveraging. So in this case, we need a minimum of 3 interns working on these blocks, a commitment of $36,000 from our industry partners, $44,000 for MyTax gives you a bucket of $80,000 for our cluster model. And the real great advantage of this is that people are able to really look at multidisciplinary projects. For example, you could have a project that brings in someone from engineering, from psychology, and someone from philosophy, all working on the same project. You just need to define the activities for each person. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. Okay, so as I mentioned, these are our partners that we have. You can have, again, with businesses with facilities in Canada. Keep in mind that 50% of the time, at least, must be spent with the industry partner. Okay, and again, if you do have any partners working in the not-for-profit space or NGOs or government agencies, feel free to reach out to us and we can help you figure out if they're an eligible partner. Okay, next slide. And thank you to our funding partners. As I mentioned, we are federally and provincially funded, and we are very grateful for their extended support. Next slide. If you have any questions at all or would like to discuss your research goals, certainly feel free to reach out to me. My name is Christine McDonald, and my address and phone number are there on the slide as well. It's cmacdonald@mytax.ca. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much, Christine. That was a really great overview. Just so everyone knows that we will be taking all questions towards the end of the presentation, so type them in right now if they do come up. We have one.
Oh, I lost you.
Sorry about that. So there we go. So we have actually one more type of funding that we need to go through, and it's graduate funding. We have Melina Alia, who is the project coordinator for the Career Foundation's Career Focus program. Melina joined the Career Foundation as an employment advisor and worked directly with youth at risk in the Hamilton-Wentworth region, helping them gain life and employability skills and leading them into stable employment. Currently, Melina works with post-secondary graduate youth in several regions in Ontario, helping to facilitate their transition into the labor market. Melina possesses a Bachelor of Commerce degree and also acts as a treasurer and committee member for the Youth Employment Network. So I'm just going to actually unmute you, Melina. Just give me one more second. And there you go. Oh.
Hello.
There you go. Perfect.
Perfect. Thanks, Alex, and thanks, everyone, for having me. So my name is Melina Ilya. I'm the project coordinator for the Career Focus program offered by the Career Foundation. So before I get into Career Focus, I'll just give you a very brief overview of the Career Foundation and what we do. So we're a not-for-profit organization. We've now been running for 25 years, and we receive our funding from the Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities, Service Canada, and we do have other funders as well. We've got 7 offices across the GTA, Peel, and Hamilton-Wentworth regions, and we offer free employment services to job seekers of all ages, along with specialized programs. And some of our specialized programs include the new Youth Employment Fund, an arborist pre-apprenticeship program, and we do have other programs as well. We also offer free recruiting and staffing services for employers with different options for funding subsidies. So I'll just now talk about one of our specialized programs, which is Career Focus. So the anticipated start date for Career Focus is actually April 2014, and the program is meant to run until the end of March 2015. And this is a wage subsidy program for youth and employers in the GTA, Halton, Hamilton, Wentworth, and Peel regions. So we're funded in part by the Government of Canada through Employment and Social Development Canada. And actually, this project has already been running now for 1 year in the regions mentioned on the slide. And it's been extremely successful. We've had lots of employers who have been really happy with hiring young graduates. And I really have to commend Sonia on speaking on behalf of young graduates, interns, and students. There is a lot of benefits to hiring them. And they're very eager to jump in and have a lot of innovative ideas, and they're very flexible and are always working towards solutions. And so we've really received an overwhelming positive response from employers. Okay, so just to talk about the aim of Career Focus. The Career Focus program is meant to provide inexperienced post-secondary graduate youth with career-related work experience in high-demand fields. And so what happens is graduates can come and meet with us, and we offer the eligible grads an opportunity to participate in paid work placements that are between 3 to 12 months in duration. So these graduates complete college or university, and they can come in and apply for Career Focus at any one of our 7 locations. If they're accepted onto Career Focus, they would work together with us to find an employer in their field, and we then coordinate work placements with them. So the placements must be in high-demand fields, and these high-demand fields, it's actually a list that the Government of Canada has given to us, and it's very long. It includes a broad range of fields, including forestry, mining, fabrication, wholesale trade, health, IT, legal, marketing. There's just so many that the graduates can go into. And you can actually find the complete list on our website. And so what we also do is the program offers eligible employers a wage subsidy of up to 50% of a post-secondary graduate's wages for the placement period. So those employers who come in and want to use the Career Focus project to hire graduates can receive the wage subsidy for the training period, which in turn is meant to offset the training costs of hiring a new graduate. And the maximum funding amount per youth participant to the employer is approximately $16,000. So this is dependent on some factors. So the employers must be hiring grads for vacant positions, so they can't sort of create a position or lay anyone off or fill a short-term contract such as a maternity leave contract. The intention is to have the grad come on for the placement period and to then hire them on full-time afterwards, depending on whether that graduate fulfills the job descriptions, if they're happy with their placement duration and the training. The intention would be to hire that grad on after. The employer must agree to pay the grad the minimum prevailing wage rate for that area. And there is no application process for the employers. If an employer is interested in using Career Focus Wage Subsidy Program and in hiring a new graduate, they would contact us, and if they're eligible, we discuss the funding options with the employers. So in our previous year, actually, we've now been running for a full year, and we've worked with over 80 employers who've used Career Focus and hired these graduates onto their organizations. And they really gave us a great response and felt that the grads were a great addition to their organizations and willing to work hard and showcase their skills and their strong educational backgrounds. So it has been really successful, and we've got a lot of talented grads who have been able to sort of go into employment and showcase those skills that they've got. So for the wage subsidy as well, what would happen is the employer would hire the graduate on for the placement period of 3 to 12 months. And then the employer would pay the graduate the full wages, and we could then reimburse the employer for up to 50% of those wages, depending on that duration. So just on to the next slide there. So I'm just going to talk about the youth eligibility criteria. So any graduate that does want to apply to use the Career Focus program, they must meet the following criteria to be considered for our program. So they have to be between the ages of 15 to 30 inclusive. They must be a post-secondary graduate, and this can be a graduate from college or university. They've got to be out of school, a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or a person who has been granted refugee status in Canada. They must be legally entitled to work according to relevant provincial, territorial legislation and regulations, and they cannot be in receipt of employment insurance benefits at the time that they register with us. And we do give priority to those youth candidates who have been unemployed for the past 6 months, and we also do consider underemployed candidates as well, and there is other eligibility requirements. And what happens is if the youth does want to come in, they come in for one of our information sessions. If they're accepted onto the program, they come in for a job retention and employer expectation workshop as well with us. So they are up to date with what employers are looking for, the do's and don'ts to make sure that they are on track. And we do also offer them other free workshops depending on their needs so that they are successful in their work placements and in the labor force. And just on to the next slide. So now for the employer eligibility criteria. So employers who want to participate in Career Focus and hire a young graduate and receive a subsidy must meet the following criteria to be considered. They've got to be a private sector employer or organization that's operating in Ontario. They must represent fields identified as being sectors of high demand, which is that list on our website if you would like to look that over. And they must be able to offer a placement of between 3 and 12 months, which provides the inexperienced post-secondary graduate with career-related work experience. And they also must agree to pay at least 50% of the youth participant wages for that duration. There are some other eligibility requirements that apply, and employers can contact us directly if they are interested in using the program and in hiring a young graduate. So if anyone is interested, our website is listed there, www.careerfoundation.com. You can look us up for information, or you can give me a call at 416-642-2406, extension 225, and my name again is Melina Ilya. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Marlena. We're actually going to be taking quite a few questions, but until those come in, and we encourage you to kind of ask away because all the experts are here, right? So we're actually going to invite Catherine Batista, who was a student of the Western University program and who worked at KDC, just to get a sense of her experience as well. Catherine, you are unmuted right now. And so what worked for you? What did you find the most useful part when you went into KDC or even just general experience? Hello? Catherine? It seems that we're not able to connect here. So I do apologize for that. But let's get some questions. We actually had a question for Christine, and it was about the intern applying. So does the intern apply directly or does the employer apply? I'm just going to unmute you right now, Christine. There we go. I'll unmute all the speakers here. Christine, you're unmuted. Yeah.
Yes, so the answer to that question is yes. So we have had applications come in from the intern. We have had applications come in from the research professors, and we have had applications come in from the industry partners who are looking for researchers. So it does happen in all of those ways. So if you are working with an industry partner and if you are an intern or a professor, certainly feel free to reach out to us and we can help you out. Or if you are an industry partner, feel free to reach out to us as well, and you're looking for an academic partner in this and to find an intern, then we can help you try and sort out what your industry question might be that you're trying to get help with, and we have a little template for that as well.
Great, thank you so much. We actually have a question for Melina here. How much should the hourly pay rate be for youth? Does it matter?
It does matter. So the employer has to pay the youth the minimum prevailing wage rate for that position in that region. So all of those details can be found on the workingincanada.gc.ca website. You can actually type in the position that you are hiring the graduate for, and it'll tell you for the area that you're employing them in what you should be paying them.
Great. Is there anything else that's the questions that I have. Sonia, Allison, is there anything else that you want to add, or even Christine, Melina?
It's Sonia here. I can say, as far as filling out the application for, something like the MyTax grant, the way we went about it last year, Catherine, I think, attended a session around that to start, and then she did the initial application content, and then we kind of sent it to me, and we worked quite closely with somebody at MyTax to kind of refine it, make sure that we were touching on all the elements that were required. So it was a really, the application process wasn't all that alienating. It was actually very much supported by MyTax and successful in the end.
Perfect. Catherine, I believe we can hear you right now.
Hi.
There we go. So if you want to cover some of your experiences and what helped, what KDC provided you, and how you were able to contribute to actually provide KDC what they needed.
Yeah, well, KDC in particular, Sonia plays a lot of different roles at KDC, and unfortunately the sustainability department is kind of run by the interns when they are there. So that was really great for me because I got to use all my schooling to really aid in their program there. And so basically how it worked was I had a report that I had to fill out for the first month or so. I was gathering data on KDC's sustainability in terms of their energy usage, water usage, the waste that they generated. And then from there I had free range to choose a project that I wanted to work on based off of the data that I collected for the 2012 year. So I decided to kind of focus on KDC's waste, and it was great because I got to collaborate with a bunch of different people at KDC. Sonia was really supportive. I also got to participate in a bunch of different activities with the partners in Project Green, where I would attend their events and then collaborate with some other people that were in the manufacturing fields there, and some of them were really progressive in their sustainability in terms of what they were doing in their manufacturing facilities. And so that was great because I got to bring those ideas forward to some of the engineers at KDC, and it was great because they really valued my opinions that I got to bring from these sessions that I participated in with the partners in Project Green. And then just to touch on what Sonia mentioned too about micromanaging, by no means was I micromanaged. Sonia was a great support to me, but it wasn't like she was constantly shadowing me and telling me what to do and things like that. And I think that was great for her as well because she just could rely on what I was going to do, and then it was also great for me because I could just push the project the way I wanted to go with it. And it was mutually beneficial for both of us because for me, I had to do a good job because it was part of my schooling. We were we had monthly sessions with Allison, who already spoke there, and just we had progress reports that had to be done. So for me it was you have to do a good job because it's a component of graduating. Also, we got the MyTax funding, and that was a really great opportunity for me as well. Coming out of school, it was quite a good experience for 4 months of work and the funding that we got there. And then the most important thing for me was how beneficial it was in that it set me up for my current job that I have now. I've been with the Rainforest Alliance in Ottawa for about a month now, and it set me up by giving me industry practices. I got to learn the manufacturing industry, which really set me up for, I'm in a type of auditor type role, so it really set me up for that because I got to participate in a lot of auditing activities with the partners in Project Green. And on top of it, it just gave me a great professional reference from Sonia, and it's definitely great for me because I got to just enhance my resume in a way that was attractive to my current employers now.
That's really great. Thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing that. We actually have one question, and it kind of applies to all of the funding programs. What are the timelines? What are the normal induction hiring timelines for each of the 3 programs?
Sure. Well, this is Christine from MyTax.
Mm-hmm.
So for a MyTax proposal, certainly you can submit a proposal at any time. For one of those 4-month blocks that I was referring to in the presentation, it takes approximately 6 weeks once we have a draft that everyone has agreed upon. So really, depending on how long the draft can take, and sometimes people have that done in a weekend, other times it does take a little bit longer, so that might add in a bit of time. Also keep in mind we do send our projects out for academic peer review, and sometimes the peer reviewers come back with a couple of questions.
I'll add to that. This is Allison from Western here. So for our students, when they're going off on their summer co-op starting in May, essentially we get things rolling at this end here in January, and then students are matched with their employer by the first week of March, and at that point that's when the collaboration for, like in the case of KDC there, that's when the collaboration will begin for putting that application together for the MyTax funding. And then as far as the cooperative education tax credit goes, that is something that the receipt would be issued to you folks after successful completion of the co-op work term. So that would be at the end of the term, and then of course would be submitted at tax time.
I'll just add to that as well. It's Melina from the Career Foundation. So for us, it's dependent on both the employer and the youth side. So for the youth, they can come in and complete our application, and it could take about 2 to 4 weeks to assess their application and determine whether they can be accepted onto Career Focus. For the employer side, if we do have a good match with a youth graduate and the employer, the application process to sort of put together a training plan, it takes about 1 to 2 weeks for that.
Great. Thank you so much for answering that question. I will be sending, again, all the information for all of our speakers' contact information, and it will be sending the recorded version of this webinar. So if you have any other further questions, I encourage you to actually reach out to the speakers today just to get those answers, because this can really help you really push forward and help you in completing some projects that might not be able to get done. I want to thank all of our speakers today. Specifically, I want to thank Allison, too, from University of Western Ontario, who collaborated with us this afternoon to put this together. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. You can reach us at admin@partnersofprojectgreen.com, and we'll be in touch soon with our next webinar. Thanks again. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye now.
Great. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.